She then validates her status to let her senator know she is a real voter. Next, she finds the bill she opposes, votes no, and explains why. After making her statement, Betty rallies support to her opposition of the bill by sharing it on Facebook and emailing her friends and family. Betty's initial post was seen on her Facebook page and by the emails she sent. She was able to recruit several friends to join her cause to vote no on this bill as well. With WeVoteProject.org, Betty was able to start a political movement in under 90 seconds that changed the outcome of the law. Because of the amount of opposition to the bill, on the day of the vote, the bill is defeated. Betty is not alone, and neither are you. With WeVoteProject.org, any citizen can start a movement and be a powerful voice in their government. Sign up today and make your vote count.
Well, hi everybody. My name's Andy Curran, and this is Caleb Castle. And we're part of the founding team here at WeVote. And on behalf of everyone at WeVote, I just want to thank you for coming to our first event ever of the Bellis, Filibusters, and Hashtags, an open government forum. And I'd also like to thank the people that were able to help us put this together. Sean McGuire from Bellis will be our moderator today. Professor Matt Waite, Pat Radigan from Corn-Fed Sports, and we have some senators joining us today. Senator Laura Epke, Senator Adam Moorfeld, and Senator Bill Kittner will be also joining us, as well as Adam Weinberg from the Platt Institute. Now, we just launched WeVoteProject.org last year, and just relaunched this year, last week in Nebraska, and we're planning on expanding to all 50 states in the first part of this year. And we lured you here today with the promise of a great discussion about open government. And that's exactly what we're going to do. But first, I'd like to start by taking a leap of faith and suggest I should probably start going with the clicker here. Apologies. I'd like to start by taking a leap of faith by suggesting that if you decided to brave the cold and come here to talk about open government on your Saturday afternoon, that you might be a little strange. And I don't mean that in any kind of negative way. On the contrary, what I mean is that you're just not ordinary. You're actually extraordinary. And let's face it, most people look at politics with scorn and what seems like a malaise-like type of apathy. I mean, how often do we hear that people just don't care? How many times have we been told that real substantial change isn't possible because most people are too greedy, too stupid, or too lazy to try to make a difference in their community? Well, I propose to you today that apathy as we think we know it doesn't actually exist, but rather we live in a world that actively discourages engagement by constantly putting obstacles and barriers in our way. Now, these obstacles and barriers are everywhere, and as a result, it's keeping the average citizen disinformed and disengaged in the political process. But we'll talk more about that in a minute. But first, I just want to say that I think that what we're doing here today is really special. I mean, how often do we see activists and politicians from all sorts of political ideologies coming together to share ideas about how we can make government work better for the people? Because you are the ones who believe that you can change the world. You believe, there we go. Sorry, I'm just not great with the slideshow. Because you're the ones who believe that you can change the world. You believe in the power of ideas, and you invest your time, your money, and your energy into advancing those ideas because you want to make the world a better place. But changing the world is not an easy task, is it? Just because you have a good idea doesn't mean that it's going to spread. Reform won't just happen from just one person or just one idea. No, that idea has got to spread to be effective. So today we're going to talk about open government, digital citizenship, and the best ways to achieve policy changes in the digital age. But we're also going to talk about what's hindering our progress towards real substantial reform. Now, there are a lot of areas in the political arena that technology can address. And the hardest part for us was finding out where to focus on that technology and crafting the right design to be the most effective. So what we chose to go after first was to bridge what we call the information and communication gaps that exist in the Nebraska unicameral. So why do we choose state legislatures and not Congress? Obviously, Congress deals with a lot more money and a lot grander issues. But we chose to go with state legislatures because ultimately politics is local. And more importantly, the laws made in state legislatures across the country affect everyone's day-to-day life. Now, government has been around forever. It always has been and it always will be. And this is not a speculative market. But interestingly enough, in this whole market across the country, no one has really found the right recipe yet for engaging the public with their elected officials. Now, the legislative process is an area where one would expect transparency, information sharing, and civic engagement to thrive out of a necessity for a properly functioning government. However, the advancements in social technologies made over the last decade have relatively passed over state legislatures and government in general, especially in Nebraska. So, in fact, in 2013, the Sunlight Foundation, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that advocates for open government, gave Nebraska an F in legislative transparency, meaning that it's prohibitively difficult for the average citizen to follow what's going on in the legislature due to the way information is dispersed. So I just kind of want to show you real quick what that looks like so you can get an idea of what that's going to be. If you just bear with me here. So why don't we go to the home page here first, Caleb. So this is the home page for the Nebraska legislature. It's got, a bunch of links. It's almost myopic in the way that it's laid out. You don't really know where to even begin. And but let's say that, we know what we're looking for. We want to look at Senator Moorfield's bill to get rid of taxes on textbooks, which I think a lot of students would appreciate. LB 153, I believe. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, great.
I think so.
All right.
Introduced yesterday.
So here's what you get. You get a blank page here. You can maybe take a look at the introduced copy. You can read what it's all about, but you can't really see much more about what is in the bill, how people feel about it. Is this something that people want, or who the co-sponsors are? So let's take a look at the WeVote version of the bill page here. I just want to show you real quick. There it is. So go ahead and log in there, Caleb. Log in to Facebook. Okay, so can you back out a little bit? It's a little zoomed in. So this is our homepage. This is, we like to think of it as it's a little cleaner, a little easier to read, and a little easier to navigate. But let's say that I don't even know what bill number Senator Moorfield's bill is. I just know that it has to do with getting rid of taxes on my textbooks. So I'm going to go ahead and do a bill search, and I'm just going to search for textbooks because that's all I know about this bill. I just know that I'm for it. I know that I don't want to pay taxes on my textbooks, so I'm already paying enough for my education. So you can see here that I can click on that bill there, and it will take me to a bill page where I can follow the bill in my personal feed. I can share on my social media to try to rally support around that. And I can see where it is in the process. I can see who introduced it. I can actually click on the introduced copy, read it if I wanted to, and see who the co-sponsors are. So that basic level of information you could probably get on the state legislative website. But if we scroll down a little bit, you can see that there is a history there, but there's also voting tools, so citizens can actually give their input on the legislative making process. So that is our version of what a bill page should look like. And as more information comes about, once you get your statement of intent filed and all that kind of thing, it'll be right there, really easy to see. So it's very easy to consume that information. So let's go back then. So let's take a look at what citizen engagement looks like right now. Where are we now? If you as a normal citizen who doesn't hold much sway in the legislature, if you're like me, nobody really cares what you think, and you want to try to influence the policy-making process, what are your alternatives? How are you going to reach out to your senators and say, hey, I wish you would vote for this or introduce that? Well, you could do the most traditional thing and write a letter or write an email. You could make a phone call, tell them how you feel. You could swing by the Capitol and lobby your representatives in person. Or you can use social media and go on Facebook or Causes or any one of those tools and try to organize a broader coalition of people to press for an issue to advance or fail. But let's take a look at that a little bit more closely. If you write a letter or an email, what are you going to get? Your representative might read it. They probably will, if they're good. I'm sure these guys will check out all their emails for their staff, right? So, and maybe you'll even reply and get a nice response. But that reply is only going to you. It's not, no one else was going to see it, so nobody else is going to get the benefit of that. So you're just kind of replicating the process. And if you've ever emailed a legislator, or if you've ever been a staffer or anything like that, you know these guys get emails constantly. You're getting hundreds of emails a week probably, trying to push one thing or another. So it's kind of cumbersome on the legislator to keep sending out hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of letters and emails back to these constituents. And they might not even know who you are. It's fairly anonymous. If you're mailing in a letter, maybe they'll see a return address. But if you're sending in an email, you don't really know who's sending it. So you don't know if they're a constituent or if they live in another state or another country. So that kind of limits the impact that you can really have on the process there. So let's take a look at making a phone call. You can make a phone call, but then again, if you're elected representative, if you finally get them on the line, they may or may not know who you are, if you're a constituent or not, and the communication is still just one-to-one. It's one-to-one, and they're getting bombarded with phone calls all the time, trying to get past legislation or introduce, just like writing letters and emails, and it's not an efficient way of communicating with your constituents or broader audience. So, and the conversation seemingly ends with the end of the phone call. So the phone call is done, and you're done talking about the issue, and they're moving on to the next thing. So it just kind of dies there. Now, if you visit the legislature, if you have time to take off of work and go down there, if you're lucky enough to live close to the Capitol, maybe you can go visit. But if you live in the western part of the state or even in Omaha, it might be a little bit more cumbersome to do that. So, again, it's a one-person to one-person type thing. It's not an efficient way to really spread that message. And you're not going to have nearly as much power as a professional lobbyist whose job it is to go in and day out and push for advancing policy issues that their clients are pushing for. So your influence by just going to the Capitol is still seemingly quite limited. Or you can go online. You can do some online activism. You can join a group, advocate for policy changes that way, and you can spread the message out to get as many people involved and use the power of these networks to advance those issues. But again, your elected representatives may take those petitions with a grain of salt because again, they don't know who these people are. They don't know who you are when you're participating on Facebook or on Causes. Are you a constituent, or are you just a spammer just trying to start trouble? There's really no way to find that out. So this last group is pretty interesting. Using the power of social technologies is a great way to influence the policymaking process. but it still falls a little bit short. So what I want to show you here today right now real quick is how we have overcome that barrier. And so Caleb and I are going to show you how we actually validate that our users on the WeVote network are actually registered voters. So if you see that I want to vote on this bill, I want to support this bill. So I'm going to click yes on this. Here I am. Okay, it's going to ask me to verify my status. So my senator is going to know that I support this bill and that I'm an actual constituent. So by clicking get verified, it's going to validate my address. Please don't go egg my house. And we'll go ahead and continue there. And I don't know who has my phone right now, but I think that guy does. If you have your phone number on the voter registration, we're going to have that information. We're going to be able to validate you within a matter of seconds. So if we just go ahead and click verify via text, we'll be able to send, the system is going to send a text message to my phone, and if you wouldn't mind just telling us what the numbers are in the back there.
Verification code 971357.
And here we are. So wow, just like that, I've been validated as a registered voter. And now I can use this social network to influence the policy-making process, not as a random online user, not as just some anonymous person, but as an actual constituent. Now the system is going to see who my elected representatives are. If you go to the home page there, Caleb, it's going to show that Senator Kate Bowles is my actual senator. But again, if I wanted to vote on Senator Moorfield's textbooks bill, we can just go find that, and I can start voting now. And that way, when your senator logs into their end, they can see, okay, how do my constituents feel about this bill? Are they for it? Are they against it? Do they have some interesting arguments? And now you can see that an overwhelming amount of 3 people are currently supporting Senator Moorfield's bill. So it looks like it's going to pass. Off to a good start. Yeah. So that's in a nutshell how we're empowering citizens to have a voice, not as an anonymous person online, but as a registered voter and a real constituent. So we're very, very excited to get citizens like you on board and using that so you can actually influence the debate and remove the anonymity from the online conversations, which is essentially a quantum leap, if you will, in the way that we communicate with our elected representatives. So now that you're able to access the full legislative transparency of your state legislatures, combined with the power of sending messages from verified registered voters acting as a group. Oh, I didn't even talk about the group stuff yet. Maybe we can go ahead and share that bill on my Facebook profile real quick. Would you mind? I want to show you how you can build a broader network of support behind this bill. So if we go up here, if we click share on here, I'm going to be able to put this out to my social network. And I can say, hey everybody, this is a great bill, it needs to pass. Please click this link and join me in my support for making taxes on textbooks exempt, because we know we need it. So we'll go ahead and share that link, and that'll go live on my Facebook wall right now. And people can click on that link and then go and vote on it themselves. And that can create a groundswell of support for a bill with little to no effort. I mean, literally under 90 seconds, you can start a movement, from your home. So it's our hope that WeVote can knock down the obstacles and barriers that have been put in our way, so we can finally find some common ground with people who, we agree with, or all the time, or, interestingly enough, we can find common ground with people that we don't traditionally agree with, but we can find issues that we can, and work with people and not treat them as our competitors or our political rivals, if you will, but we can work together to try to make our government work better for the people. And that's our mission, and that's our vision for WeVote Project. So we're excited to have a great discussion on how open government can continue to revolutionize our lives. And we've got some great speakers lined up today. So I just want to thank you guys all for coming, and hope you have a great time. So thank you so much. I'd like to introduce our moderator today, Sean McGuire from Bellis, and we'll get our panel started in just a few moments. Sean McGuire.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Aside to really talk about solving problems and bringing people together is something great. So I'd like to thank you all for being here. Thank them for putting this together. We're going to have a panel to begin, and then we'll take a break for lunch. And so a quick housekeeping item as they're setting things up. We're going to kind of make it like church. So when you're coming down for lunch, which is over there, try and come down here so as you come back to your seats, you're not... I think we're going through a lot of changes in our country. We're going from what was a post-industrialized society, more jobs in manufacturing and everything, to a informational society. Everybody wants information right now. Would you agree? Look at your phones. I don't know, AT&T, when I was a kid, was the #1 telephone company in the world. Now, 80% of the money that AT&T makes comes from the digital side. That is interacting on Facebook and all of these things. And so you have to recognize that when you're looking to engage with your elected officials. Last year, $4 billion was spent on elections in this country. $4 billion. That's a lot of money. That's almost as much as the whole Nebraska state economy, just on election campaigns. And they obviously didn't work because the turnout was the lowest since the World War II era. Are people too busy keeping up with the Kardashians, or have they really tuned out because of all of the things that are happening? That's a question I will pose to you. I think one big obstacle that many people face, and I faced this, I worked in a Senate office for 4 years, is how do you get to the right person? The staffer that really is the one who has that member's